right, welcome to part 2 of chapter 5. I pressed my face into the gingham and found out how new smelled. I must have dreamed about this dress. It was so familiar. Hold it up and see if it fits. I squeezed it to me, then quickly pulled it back. It made my regular one look really, really old. There was a little piece of paper held onto the dress by a string and a safety pin. My hands were shaking like a leaf, and I read, "Fine apparel for ladies and gentlemen." Then I remember I had seen this dress before. The store that this dress came from is a rich people's clothes store me and Clarice walk by every day on our way home. We'd seen a dress just like this one in the front window on one of those little white dummy girl statues. I fell in love with it, and Clarice fell in love with the green-gray dress that the dummy sister of my statue was wearing. Every day we passed the store, we'd imagine where we'd wear the two dresses. Once it was for going to a real restaurant and asking a stranger to cook us some food. Once for our graduating from college, and once for Clarice's wedding, where I was her maid of honor. The best thing we'd imagined was wearing them to Benny and Dolly's funeral. That's not nice. We'd wear veils so people would think we were crying, but secretly we'd be laughing about how rich and happy we looked while those hoodlums were put 6 feet under. That must be that second brain of Dezo's thinking. The dresses disappeared from the windows in April, and we hated what took their place. I held the piece of paper. Mrs. Needham's brow wrinkled. "Dear me, bring that here." She undid the safety pin. "That silly child wore this all summer and never took the tags off." Thank you. Thank you so much, Mrs. Needham. My throat betrayed me again. I wonder if these belongings actually came from Mrs. Needham's niece as hand-me-downs or somewhere else. I wonder. Something to think about. Be sure to ask your parents, Deza. They may contact me if there are any questions. Tell absolutely no one, not even Clarice, about my niece's clothes. Use that explosive imagination of yours to come up with a story. Now be prepared for September. I can't wait. My hands were shaking even harder when I put my brand new clothes back in the sack. I went to my desk, collected my books, and smoothed out my essay even more. The A- wasn't so bad after all. I headed to the door, then turned back. "Mrs. Needham, you'll never know." "Deza Malone, one more peep out of you and I will mail those clothes right back to Cleveland. Pull yourself together and go." I would have gone, but she held up 2 fingers, touched her cheek. One held up one finger, and put her hand to her chest, like she was saying the Pledge of Allegiance. And she smiled. I knew I was risking my new clothes, but I dropped everything and ran back. She jumped up and made a face, but I wrapped my arms around her and held on tight. "Mrs. Needham, I'd always dreamed that one day I'd have the same heart as you, but I thought I'd have to wait until I got to be real old too." She let me cry before she got me arm's length away. "Fine, Deza. Now please go home." I grabbed Mrs. Needham one more time. The only thing the best teacher in the world could say was, "Oh, and for the love of Pete." Interesting. All right, that was chapter 5, so let's look at our comprehension questions. What comment does Mrs. Needham make about Deza's essay? "This paper was awful. Your essay was not long enough. This is the most important paper you have ever written, or I expect more from you." Question 2. Where does Mrs. Needham ask Deza to sit? Does she ask her to sit outside of the classroom, behind the teacher's desk, on the floor, or in the corner? Number 3. What was Mrs. Needham's dream? To have a student who would make a difference for their people, to have a straight A student, to be able to retire, or to take a beach vacation. Number 4 is an extended response question, so make sure you have capitals, your sentence is organized, you have punctuation, and your sentence makes sense. Got good spelling. What does Mrs. Needham mean when she tells Deza, with your gifts, you are the richest person? Does Mrs. Needham mean you're actually rich, like you have a lot of money, or does she mean rich in a different way? Explain what you think there. Number 5, what does Mrs. Needham want Deza to do every day after school and on the weekends? Come to her house for tutoring, sleep, or teach Jimmy to spell, or clean her house. I wonder which of those is true. It's kind of a long chapter, so we've got 10 questions for chapter 5. Question 7 says, what does the poem Mrs. Needham share with Deza explain? A mouse is a useless animal. People should be more like mice. People only look at the past, while mice look at the future, even when their lives aren't going their way. Number 7. What was in the bag that Mrs. Needham gave to Deza? Was it a box of pencils, white patent leather shoes, new shoes, socks, clothes, and a book, or snacks? That's a tricky one, so pay attention carefully. Number 8. Why was the dress in the bag so important? She has always dreamed of fancy dresses like that. Her dress had holes. Clarice dressed better than her and she had to look the best. Or her brother always got new clothes. So the dress specifically, why was that so important to her? Number 9. What does Deza do when she is about to leave the classroom? Does she sing, rewrite her essay, give Mrs. Needham a hug, or throw a chair? Another extended response question. Why do you think Mrs. Needham is doing such nice things for Deza? Where maybe she doesn't express it with her words, their relationship in words was kind of awkward. Again, this was several decades ago, and social courtesies in especially an environment like a school were a lot different. So see if you can try to figure out why would Mrs. Needham do such nice things for Deza. She might not explicitly say why, or maybe she does. Maybe she talks about why she would want to specifically choose Deza to give this special treatment to. What is your opinion? Okay, so those are the 10 questions for Chapter 5. Again, this copy can be found on Google Classroom. And whenever you get a chance, just answer those, take a picture of it, or submit it on Google Classrooms, or just send a picture to me so that I can see what you think. All right, have a good night. Thank you. Bye.